Hello, everyone. Wyatt Claypool here. Without a doubt, in electoral politics, the worst thing that you can be is a hypocrite. It's worse than being a liar. It's worse than being a thief. It's even worse than being cringe and embarrassing because a hypocrite can never make an attack on a political opponent that's actually going to stick. In fact, whenever they attack other people, it hurts them and undermines their own credibility. It's the whole people who live in glass houses type of an effect. You can't exactly throw rocks at other people when if you have a rock thrown at yourself, everything's going to shatter. And this is exactly why the federal NDP have gone absolutely nowhere with Jagmeet Singh leading the party. They got absolutely clobbered in 2019, only picked up a couple extra seats in 21 because of both the Liberals and the Conservatives basically bleeding support. And now in the federal election in 2025, they are going to get beaten up once again, even though in theory, they should be gaining massive amounts of support. The Liberals are only a half step to the right of the NDP, and I would describe Justin Trudeau as a very orange liberal leader. But Singh, because he's a hypocrite, can never actually make an attack on another political opponent in order to then gain support to himself. Every time he tries to make a play for power, everyone just points and says, well, aren't you the Rolex guy? Well, aren't you the one who's been propping up Trudeau? Well, aren't you the one who used to be sort of like an ambulance chasing lawyer? Aren't you the one who was a failed Ontario provincial politician? Jagmeet Singh and many of the NDP MPs have no credibility. They're just whiny malcontents. They are champagne socialists, which itself is a hypocritical label in terms of describing a hypocrite. Here's something that the NDP posted on their own X account today, which has had a big boomerang effect on them, trying to attack Poilievre as being a puppet for billionaires. Here we go. This post reads, Pierre is a billionaire bootlicker. He's a puppet for greedy CEOs and doesn't care about the relief people need now. And it's a graphic with Pierre Poilievre as a puppet, and it says billionaire bootlicker, this being a term that the NDP is using from one of their MPs, Leah Gazin, who is an absolute left-wing radical, somebody who maybe might make a good MP one day if she learns to care about Canadians just as much as she hates Israel. But moving on from there, the reason this post doesn't work is because it's in fact the NDP, which has been assisting the Liberals, who they also accuse of being corporate shills and serving greedy billionaires. So what is it? Which one is it? Are the Conservatives serving the billionaires, and are the Liberals not? Well, the NDP attacks the Liberals for serving billionaires all the time, and the NDP are currently propping up and serving the Liberals. Plus, this doesn't even make sense. This is all over a GST-HST vote where the Conservatives didn't vote with the government to get basically pause the GST and HST for 2 months because it's a bait and switch. The NDP are pretending the Conservatives aren't in favor of tax relief when the NDP are in fact only voting for 2 months of tax relief right before the HST and GST come back in effect in February, and then the carbon tax doubles in April. The NDP are hypocrites. They don't actually care about tax relief. They voted against every form of tax relief proposed over the last several years, probably for decades now, because they really just care about getting the government more money and only having temporary handouts or pauses in taxes to pretend that they care about tax relief, but will always vote against the permanent tax relief measures that the Conservatives propose, like getting rid of the carbon tax. I want to move on to a video of Jagmeet Singh because he is really, or I'll start off with the Conservatives video about him because I think this was a really good slam on Jagmeet Singh, and the fact that Poilievre has sort of zeroed in on this being the main attack on Jagmeet Singh is very telling because Jagmeet Singh is a hypocrite, and the Conservatives realize that this is his biggest Achilles heel.
Jagmeet Singh is used to getting what he wants. He went to a high-priced American private school in Beverly Hills, Rolex watches, BMWs, Versace bag. But now he's got a problem. He needs to delay the election till next year when he qualifies for his $2 million pension. So he sold you out, signed on with Trudeau to raise taxes, crime, and housing costs. Sell out Singh. He gets his pension. You pay the price.
That's a great ad, and I'm not just saying, well, it's a great ad because I'm conservative and I like things that conservatives say. I've gone after bad conservative messaging in the past. This is so effective because people hate it when politicians play games. People hate it when politicians tell them one thing but are basically doing the other. And Jagmeet Singh is a champagne socialist. He is somebody who revels in wealth and yet attacks other people for actually gaining wealth. That is something that people cannot stand. When people pretend humble. Pretend humble just makes you the most gratuitously obnoxious person on the planet. The fact that Jagmeet Singh has to flash his Rolex in pretty much every photo that he's in is just showing that he has no political skill. That's always the thing I never get about Jagmeet Singh. The man has been at this for like a decade at this point, being in politics in one capacity or another, and he still cannot figure out how to appeal to normal middle class people. He's in the party where they're supposed to be good at appealing to the working class, but he doesn't like them. He finds them grubby. He doesn't like people who work with their hands. And so when he goes and stumps for unions, it's usually public sector unions or compulsory government enforced unions with mostly HR workers and people who work white collar office jobs. He doesn't like oil and gas workers. He doesn't like people who work at manufacturing plants. The day he started this Pure Poilievre as a bootlicker for billionaires push, he showed up driving a Maserati, I believe. I think that's what that is. Yeah, a Maserati, carrying like a very expensive leather bag in a bespoke suit with an expensive coat. And guess what? I don't care. But the problem is his rhetoric makes him a hypocrite because he pretends like he rejects all the trappings of wealth, that it's actually Poilievre who's like serving the gold-plated type like the gold-plated metropolitans, when Jagmeet Singh is a gold-plated metropolitan. He is a very wealthy lawyer who got into politics because he loves being on camera. That man, I don't even think he really wants his pension. Yes, he wants his pension because everyone wants their pension. Even if you say you don't want your pension, you want your pension. Come on, it's like, it's money. But Jagmeet Singh, I think he just likes being fashionable. He likes going on streams with people like Hassan Piker and AOC and Ilhan Omar. He likes going on legacy media shows because it makes him feel popular. But this is something that Jagmeet Singh also said just today. He says, Pure Poilievre and the Conservatives voted against a GST holiday for Canadians, but happily voted to cut corporate taxes that cost Canadians $60 billion. Well, this is corporate tax cuts like back in the day when Harper was in power. But this graphic right here says Pure Poilievre voted against the GST tax break. It's not a tax break. It's a temporary tax freeze that quickly rolls into a massive carbon tax increase. And also, of course, the GST and HST comes back in February. Plus, it only applies between December 17th and February 17th, after most holiday shopping is over. In fact, it's kind of a bit of a bait and switch because people tend to spend the least after Christmas. That's when everyone, is worried about paying back all their credit card statements and they start really restricting their spending. And so all this 5% tax reduction on the GST side of things, and it's bigger if it's the HST in certain provinces, up to 14% in places like New Brunswick or something like that, you will save 14%, you'll save 5% during the month when you're going to be deliberately spending as little as possible already. And again, corporate tax cuts would actually do a far better job at reducing prices and saving people money. Plus, isn't it kind of stupid to say that Pure Poilievre is a bootlicker for billionaires because he won't vote for the GST holiday? Well, and one, the Conservatives already know it's going to pass, so they're symbolically opposing it because they are basically saying, why don't you guys do permanent tax relief? We're not voting for this because you guys are trying to entrap us into pretending the government's doing good things when it's taking not even half measures, it's taking like quarter measures to try and solve the problem, and only temporarily. How is it bootlicking for billionaires to vote for a tax pause that only affects government tax revenues? This doesn't actually go after billionaires. It doesn't hurt billionaires at all. It doesn't help billionaires at all. If anything, the Liberals and the NDP are helping billionaires and large corporations by making people shop more by reducing sales taxes. And that's fine. I don't care if people make more money. I've never been bothered by how much wealth other people have. But this doesn't even track well. The NDP are in fact the people who are going to make Galen Weston and Loblaws more money. But here's also a video that Jagmeet Singh released yesterday. It's a longer version of something I've played before. And again, it's just whiny. He comes across like somebody who's doing politics on a college campus.
Pierre Poilievre and the Conservatives are bootlicking for the billionaires again. Let me explain. Every single Conservative just voted against the GST holiday this winter. They voted against taking the GST off of essentials. Essentials like grab-and-go food, children's diaper and clothing. They voted against giving working class people relief, but they voted in favor of giving their billionaire buddies a big tax break. So it's clear.
Yeah, back in the day, they voted in favor of that. Like, again, I don't even have a problem with lowering corporate taxes, but I don't get this whole point he's trying to make here, like that anything that the Conservatives voted for like 14 years ago is equally relevant to things that are going on right now. We could all pull up the record of the NDP and what they voted for and what they've said in the past 3 decades. So we could be like, did you know that the NDP once voted for tax relief? The fact that Jagmeet isn't voting for it is very telling. And again, he's propping up the Liberals, who he say are also like corporate stooges and whatnot. So this all doesn't actually come across as Jagmeet Singh thinks it should.
When Pierre Poilievre of the Conservatives talk about tax cuts, they mean for their billionaire buddies, not for the working class.
Reducing taxes for anybody reduces taxes for everybody. There's no such thing as a tax that only one person pays, or there's no such thing as a tax cut that only affects a specific group of people. Every tax cut affects everybody because it puts more money in the economy. Corporations like grocery stores would be able to lower prices, service prices would go down, everything would go down. That's where I advocate for lower taxes across the board. But Jagmeet Singh is in the world where economics don't work like they do in the real world. And by picking up a bucket of water from one side of a bathtub and not the other actually doesn't cause the entire level to go down, or adding a new bucket of water in. It actually, for some reason, makes one side of the bathtub go down and not the other, because Jagmeet Singh doesn't understand taxes or fluid dynamics, apparently.
The Liberals made this temporary. When I'm Prime Minister, I'll make the cut to GST for the working class permanent, and I'll include monthly bills. Conservatives...
Wait. Why don't you, Jagmeet Singh, right now, because you're the only party, your NDP are the only party keeping the Liberals in power right now, how about you fight for that now? If it's so important, why don't you fight for it now and make it so that if the Liberals don't make it permanent, or at least extend it for an entire year, and then we'll negotiate on if we should extend it for another year, just getting rid of the GST, not the HST side of things. See, this is why Bill Vander Zalm was right about the HST, about rejecting the HST in British Columbia, because it doesn't cause all these weird problems when the government wants to suspend GST for a bit. But why don't you have them pause it for longer? How about you get a win out of this? Jagmeet Singh cannot get a single political win because he lacks the political talent to apply pressure where he needs to and actually make credible threats, because Jagmeet Singh is not a threatening person. He comes off like somebody you can easily push around because, again, Jagmeet Singh's number one priority is being on camera. It's being popular and known. So he will do nothing that puts at risk his political relevance, because as soon as an election is called, he is on this timer for when he loses the election once again and the NDP rejects him as the leader and he goes back to doing whatever he does. I think his political career is over. So he's just trying to drag this next election out as far as humanly possible and maybe, just maybe, try and keep the Conservatives from getting a majority. But that ain't happening. Conservatives are obviously going to be getting a majority. But yeah, like, I just don't get like what they're doing. The NDP are so politically incompetent. It's crazy. Like, I'm a conservative. I'm obviously conservative, want like deep cuts to immigration, want tax cuts, want spending cuts. I'm socially conservative, all these things. But I still almost feel bad for the NDP watching them, because they're led by such a donkey who cannot actually get a win out of anything. You couldn't hand Jagmeet Singh a win. He'd like slap it out of your hand and call you a billionaire bootlicker or something like that while he's wearing like 5 Rolex watches on each arm. He's a ridiculous human being. Anyways, that's it for me today, guys. If you want to subscribe to the channel, make sure to go hit that button, like this video, leave a comment, do all that great stuff. Tell your friends about the channel, and I'll see you guys all next time.